Well, thanks everybody for being here. Tracy, I think you know most of the folks that are
I
here.
do. I've never met Nate and met a Prism. I don't think I've met you, Tempe. If we have, it was very briefly.
Tempe's now Duke's partner. They started.
Yes, I heard that. I watched the video from last week.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
Hey,
did you
Cliff,
take your website out of the closet?
Hey, what up?
Best line ever.
Yeah.
Good.
We're doing the whole thing right now.
Excellent.
That is like super cool line. Like that.
Oh, so great. Whoever said that was brilliant. And I'm like, I wish I would have said that. That was awesome.
Well, I'm gonna dive us into some stuff today. Cliff, welcome. Trina, welcome. This is a safe place. So if you guys have issues, complaints, you want to strangle a client, bring them here. Like, we can deal with that. I didn't say this last time, but I'm okay with handling like objections. So if you guys are running into something tough, or you're like, man, everybody always gives me pushback on this one thing, we can go through that and see if we can offer some help. So I don't really do the segue stuff like you gurus does. I just think if you guys have something that you need, bring it here. Let's discuss. Just like I ran last time. So Tracy will do like 45 minutes to an hour of open conversation. I've got some things I'll show you guys, some tools we'll review. I'll give you some downloads, but stop me at any time if you guys have questions or want to dive deeper. And then we'll have our hero huddle at the end, which is open floor Q&A. We talk about anything you guys want. I don't think anybody here holds anything close to the chest. We all have an abundance mindset, so we can talk about whatever we want to talk about, and it's good from there. So here's our agenda. Today we'll review a couple playbooks. I'll show you guys some other examples that I had that people were sending me. We'll look at a sales process template for sales, and then we'll look at a sales accelerator template about numbers, forecasting. How do you do it? And then we'll talk about week 3, how to prepare. And I'll give you guys the link to start scheduling your one-on-one calls. So just a reminder about those, you can do them whenever. They never expire. So if you want to do 5 of them next week, awesome, schedule 5. If you want to save some and do them a month from now, I don't care. So those never expire. You can do those whenever you need them, okay? And that's just for you guys. So let's not put that into the Ethernet. Okay. Looks like we've got a little spelling thing. Playbook review and examples. I will put this link in the chat for you guys because I'm kind of setting the stage here before we get into the goodies. Let's see if my computer will work. Is it going to do it? Okay, great. It went in twice. Doubly awesome. So I'm going to share my screen. Which one do I want? Let's see. Let's stop sharing this one. And let's share this guy right here. These were some cool examples of things that people did a little bit different. I won't bore you with the whole playbook. I'll just show you what they did on their pricing pages. Now, I'll say it again because I think it bears repeating. Your playbook is getting rid of the elephant in the room. They want to, how much do you charge? What do you charge? How much is it going to be? If you don't address that quickly, they're going to feel like you're dodging them or avoiding them, or there's no way to handle that tension properly, right? You can't say, well, our process is discovery and meet with me 7 times and then I'll give you a price. There's no way to handle it except going, hey, that's a great question. Let me show you how we price our projects. And we'll go over some typical ranges. Here's one from Spective Interactive. And so they have the starter, the standard, the premier, and they kind of got their branding in here. But they're really talking about, if you notice it, it's not, this is a 10-page website or this is a WordPress website or any of that sort of tactical stuff. It's where are you at in business, which I think the power is. So you can tell them, you told me that you want to generate leads. You told me you want custom design. That puts you in a different bracket. right? That doesn't put you in the $5,000 bracket. Like that puts you here, and you can always use the line of, these are the typical budgets we work with. Clients who come to us typically spend X to get Y. So now you're not saying we charge this and this is a cost. You're saying clients typically invest this amount of money and this is what we help them do. Does that make sense? The psychology behind these? Yeah. So this is an example. This is another example of just super simple one. Blitz Media. So they've got their startup, their professional, their premier. They didn't really go with the ranges. They kind of just more packaged it. The big thing that I didn't mention on the last slide here is, notice the startup is $5,000, premier is $30,000. So that's an anchor, right? You can't sell like we're used to selling. If you guys go and look at like hosting packages, they'll have the 99, the 199, and the 299. Their goal is to get you to sign up for the middle package. Like that's a commodity selling strategy. They don't really have an anchor, right? The anchor is, wow, these guys actually charge $30,000 for stuff. $5,000 doesn't sound like that much at all. Like that sounds way affordable to 30. Or it tells them at 15,000, you're not at the top of the budget range. Like you are not the leader here. You're just in the middle of the pack. And so it shows them, not only do they still have farther to go, they have somewhere to go, you can help them. It also makes your pricing a little bit more palatable because they see those big numbers, you know, and you can use whatever anchor you have. I mean, it's $50,000, $100,000, whatever. It's just an anchor to say, look, you know, $25,000 that's not the top of the scale. Like you guys aren't at the top of the line there. You're where you should be. Does that kind of make sense and resonate with you guys? So anchors are good. You can use an anchor in anything. So if you guys have recurring revenue services, use an anchor. Have a $15,000 a month package. We do everything you want, or we do it with you and it's $7,500, right? So if you have recurring revenue packages, you should always have an anchor, a couple options, some ranges. On one-time projects, you use an anchor, a couple of packages, a couple of ranges. It's my favorite line to use with people is, I'm showing you how we price projects, right? And I'm kind of showing you what the ranges are, what our clients spend and invest into the internet. And so you need to decide, Mr. Customer, how much you want to spend on your project. Like I don't price them, you do. By telling me what you need, what you want, how you want it to work, you're in full control of this investment. All I'm doing is helping you budget it out and get the work done. So I'm not going to ask you what your budget is and you say 15 and I say, cool, I can do it for 14.9. Like that's not how this works. A better question than what's your budget is how much have you spent on the internet in the last 12 months, right? That'll give you their budget range. So kind of makes sense? You guys feeling good about that? Look at that, 10 minutes in, we're already laying foundational stuff. Rock and roll. So I put the link in the chat. I'm just using Google Drive to give you guys all this stuff so you guys can go grab those things, get the examples. Let me come back here. So now we're going to look at a sales process template. So I think it's critical you guys got your tools, right? The tools are important. The playbook, pitch deck, whatever you want to call it. Back in the day, it was you got to have your business cards, you know? So you got to have your tools before you start thinking about the process. And I know a lot of you, I've talked to a lot of you that are like, yeah, I kind of have a process. You know, how many here have like a dedicated sales process? You know exactly where they are. Because I know Nate does. Nate is a sales guy like me. So Nate, quick question for you. How many steps are in your process?
You know, I think a weak part of my process is prospecting, cold calling, like the pre. When I get a deal, when I get a referral, I got about 7 steps.
Perfect. 7 steps is good. How about Trina? How many steps are in your process right now?
Steps in terms of like calls with the client or the emails that go out in between as well?
Steps being the walkthrough. So the lead, the qualified call, the solution presentation, those kind of milestones. We'll call them milestones.
So then there would be 8 steps total for us
Okay.
if you're rolling discovery into that.
All right. So you guys mix a little discovery in.
Well, I mean, normally we would just do like 15-minute qual call, then strategy call, then maybe one more additional call that's our pitch to discovery if we don't do that on the strategy call. So that part is only 2 to 3 calls for us generally. But then if you're adding in discovery, that was what would make it, to have the solutions presentation and all that.
Awesome. So I'll make this really easy for everybody. If you're selling discovery on its own, you need a sales process for that, period. Then when they buy discovery, you need another sales process that takes them out of discovery into the project, right? So they can okay the $30,000 thing or whatever you're selling. Make sense? So you can have the same process, just remember to restart it. Remember, okay, we're going through discovery. Don't lose track of them and think, oh, they're just automatically going to buy they might not. So you can run the same process twice, just start them over. When they're going through discovery, they're back to qualified lead opportunity, and you're still going to have to pitch them and present them, and you're going to have to go through the same steps again. But the nice thing is you've already gotten paid to kind of do that if you've sold discovery. So for a sales process, and I'll show you an example of how this works out. This is the text. This is a very easy one that I used for years. I still go back to this one when I feel like I'm floundering or not getting where I want to go. Instead of lead, because there's tons of leads, I have a contacted step. So I've contacted them. I've reached out. We have talked. I've given them the key benefits, and I've tried to set a qualification call, right? And so I try to spend more time with people that I've contacted because I don't want to email dead emails. If they're not returning my email, returning my call, they just stay in the leads folder. They don't move until they've been contacted. Once they're contacted, they're on my radar. And here's something important to remember. The goal is not to sell or close the deal. It's just get them to the next step. So once contacted, now we qualify. Once we qualify, then we'll analyze their needs. So my qualification call might be 20 minutes long, right? 15 maybe. Are they a good fit? Who's the decision makers? Who's the primary point of contact? Who's going to have to sign off? Are we a good fit? Do you have money to do this? Do we have time to do this? On both sides, you want to qualify the project. Then if they're qualified, I move into a needs analysis phase, which could be discovery, right? You could just go right in and start selling discovery if you need to. But your needs analysis, where you gather information, you grab everything, you learn as much as you can, desired outcomes, and then you present your solution, not your proposal. I usually call it a pre-scope because clients know what that means. When I say solution presentation, they think a proposal is coming. I've noticed that. So I call it a pre-scope, and I demonstrate to them, hey, look, this is how we could help you. This is how we can improve things. Let's go through some questions. Let's look at your technology and stuff like that. Then we can come down to a proposal and say, cool, now we have got our list of the wants and the needs. And obviously, you guys know, review the proposal with them. And then I always try to get the signature while I'm reviewing the proposal. So I would use like HelloSign or Bid Sketch or Proposify, something where while they're looking at it and you're talking to them, you can say, great, if this all looks good, just need you to hit accept, sign it, we're off to the races. I try to do that in person. If you leave it up to them, they probably won't do it. So you don't ask, you don't get, right? So get the signature, ask for the sale. Then there's 2 last steps. These are the most important ones. One is easy. I closed them. I won the deal. Great. Send your invoice, start your project. But there's also this close lost. You don't want people to go just into a black hole of follow-up. So maybe now wasn't the right time. Maybe now you aren't a good fit. Maybe they wanted some SEO and you haven't added that to your list yet. So closed lost is update your CRM and make sure you follow up with them. When I've lost deals to other agencies, I follow up in 3 months or 6 months, sometimes 12, just depends. But I follow up and say, hey, so how did it go? How'd that new website build go? Usually terrible. Usually it didn't work. they're not happy. They're never happy. I've never talked to somebody that said, oh, we love our agency. They took such good care of us, you know, unless they came out of boot camp. Usually it's a horror story. So 3, 6, 12 months, get the reasons why they decided not to use you and see if those reasons might be, you might overcome them in the future, right? That's a big deal. I say follow up until they buy or die. The only way somebody comes out of my CRM is if I decide I never want to work with this person. They're mean. I don't like them, whatever. You know, they were mean to somebody working here. They're rude. Then I get rid of them. If it's just not the right time, not the right fit, whatever. I've done many deals where 5, 6 years later, they came back and did a project with us, you know? So that's a huge opportunity gap within the creative marketplace, because I don't think we're actually using CRMs or tracking people. Gmail is not a CRM. Okay, your email system is not a CRM. It's also not a project management system. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so the big thing too, yes, go ahead, Deb.
I got a question. So just while we're talking about solution presentations versus proposals, so Cliff brings up this point in the chat that he stopped doing proposals unless he gets a yes on the solution presentation. Anyone else do that? And one question I had was, when I think about solution presentations, which we do as part of our discovery, I'm trying to get, so I've already had the conversation about ballpark budget. Like, so we haven't even gotten to that point if they are completely out of the ballpark with money. But
Right.
What I'm trying to get for a yes on the solution is not necessarily yes, like let's make this a project, but it's more because they can't say that because they don't know how much money it is. Like they can't, the money's not included in the solution presentation, at least for us. So I'm just interested in how people think about, like, what is the yes you're trying to get out of the solution presentation? Is it yes, like you heard us? What I think about it is, yes, you heard us, and yes, that logically makes sense that could be a good approach to solve our problem. But I'm curious if anyone else has other ways they think about the yes they're trying to get.
Well, I'll add 2 cents onto that real quick. So the way maybe Cliff, maybe he forgot that he does this. Maybe he doesn't do this. I'm not sure, but I think he does this. When I show the playbook, they usually tell me where they're at, right? So they point and they say, oh yeah, I'm in that starter category. That's a 5 to 10K range or whatever it is on the playbook. So they've already given me an idea, right? They've already said something about numbers. Oh, did we lose you, Devin? We might have lost Devin. He's still green. Camera's gone. That was weird. Comes in, asks a question, leaves. What's that all about?
Rude.
Rude. No, but he had a good question, and I think the point of that question is, if you're doing a solution presentation, what are you getting agreement on? You know, what is the end outcome that you want? For me, there he is. You back,
Sorry.
Devin?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
So the end outcome that I want from the solution presentation is a confirmation of the range that they're in, right? Okay, you guys said you were in that starter range. That's like 5 to 10. So if we can get 80% of what you've asked for here and kind of keep you within budget, is that something you're looking forward to doing? You know, is there anything that would stop you from doing that? It's almost like a pre-sale, right? Because I want to go into my proposal creation knowing that they've said yes to a certain budget. They're probably not going to get everything they asked for, but my typical response is, you know, if you want to keep a rock solid budget, you'll probably get 80% of what you want. 100% of what you need, 80% of what you want. If you're flexible with your budget, just like building a house, you can get 100% of what you want. You know, they might come to you and say, we want travertine tile. And you go, we didn't have that. You didn't mention that before. That's an extra cost. So it's just like building a house. You put together this range, this budget, and you say, this is kind of, after we've talked about your needs and we've kind of seen what you're looking for, this is where you're at. You know, should we go forward? Should we create, because the proposal is going to include milestones and deliverables and a whole bunch of specifics. The solution presentation is more general. It's more, it takes me like 10 minutes to create. I put their name on it, edit a couple of things, and I'm done. Does that kind of make sense? Does that help, Devin? Cliff?
Yeah, John. So mine is maybe slightly different. So the process goes very similar to like boot camp. You go through, you qualify, take them through discovery. And once I'm done with discovery, I go through a solutions presentation. My solutions presentation probably takes me about 30 minutes where I download everything into my PowerPoint report. Part of that has, information about challenges, opportunities, and then a high level of the modules. So for example, let's just say there's going to be a gallery module, a basic CRM setup, whatever. That's a single line item. And I put a price around it. As I go through the qualification process and through discovery, I already have an idea of their budget range. So as I go through the solutions presentation, I modularize the components and I give them a line item. And then I tell them, look, for example, your budget was somewhere between 15 to 20,000. I want to let you know that here is a line item. Obviously, this could change up or down 20%, but is this in line with what you want? And so at the end of that presentation, they're going to say something like, hey, that might be over or less. And then I'll just say, okay, if I can get it to this, are you fine with that? And they'll say, okay, sure. So then I put together an agreement. I don't do a proposal because they've already kind of told me they're going to work with me if I can get them to a number. So in that agreement, what I do is I outline all the modules. So even though they said 15,000 was their baseline, I will take them still to 20,000 and I'll say, pick and choose what you want. And then everything else goes into phase 2. The reason I don't do, personally don't do the proposals is because they paid me for discovery. They've already understood the investment amount and the scope that they're going to get for the most part, minus all the details, which most companies don't care about. Unless it's a dev related project, they just care about the end result with the modules being in place. So it's worked really well for me. I was just wondering how many other people have done that because my proposals are not cookie cutter. When we do this, it takes me at least 1.5 to 2 hours to put everything in place and make sure it's rock solid and locked in. So there's no scope creep. That's why we do it. And so I don't know if that helps provide some context there.
Anybody feedback? That all makes sense? So here's something. I'll show you guys a tool I use. Let's see. Let's do a new share. Let's share this.
And I'd like maybe someone to tell me where they might see a problem in my process, especially you, John, from the sales side of things.
And Cliff, go ahead.
I was just going to say this isn't a problem. I kind of like what you said about the proposal. I mean, the proposal should not be the first time that they obviously in the ballpark conversation, we understand they fall within some budget range, right? But like proposals really shouldn't be the first time they see numbers because it's really more of a confirmation. It's just like a solidification. It's kind of what you're saying. Like the price is to some degree like verbally, like you're getting to it together and then you're just formalizing it in the proposal. Is that sort of how you're looking at it, Cliff? Like
exactly. Why would I formalize something that they don't want to move forward with? In essence,
right? You're wasting time that way.
Yeah, exactly. Only for them. And again, we've probably 9 out of 10 deals we don't lose at that stage because they paid us for discovery and whatever else, and we've established solid relationships. But yeah, that's exactly correct. Why formalize something that they're not interested in moving forward with? And what's the biggest factor that generally hinders a project from moving forward at that phase? It's going to be investment. So we address that during the solutions presentation stage.
And this is something I do in a solution presentation or a pre-scope, and it's called the feasibility matrix. I don't know if you guys have ever done or seen anything like this, but oftentimes they give you all this info. We want this, we want that, we want to hook up to eBay and Amazon and take over the world. And it's not feasible with their budget or where they've picked. So we do this feasibility matrix. It's based on priority and viability. And we say up here in the top right, these are must go. Like this has to be in the project in order for us to say it's a success. These down here, these are nice to haves. These are wants. They're not needs. And that's opportunity for phase 2 or phase 3 or phase 4. Those are things that don't work with the budget now. They're nice to haves. We're going to circle back to those in the future. And then you have your little no-nos area down here, which might be something like, no, that would cost $100,000 and you don't want to pay for that. And so we're not doing that. We're not linking into realtor.com for you to create your own MLS database, right? That's not happening unless you're a multi-million-dollar investment. Does that kind of make sense? The feasibility matrix, very helpful because in the scope, in your project scope, you're going to be more detailed. You're going to be more refined. You're going to have milestones. You're going to be clear. The feasibility matrix is kind of using their words. They said they wanted this and all these things. Well, here's what we've decided can fit with the investment that you're at, with the budget. Does this look okay? Can we proceed? If they say yes, I'm on to the project scope. Does that make sense? And I might even give them a bonus, if it's like a e-commerce site or something, or I might even throw in a site map. We've kind of done a little research. We think you should have these categories. This is how your site map should kind of play out. Just to give them a little bonus, something maybe we didn't even talk about with them. I'm always trying to kind of wow them. Does that make sense?
Yep. And so, John, we do something similar. We don't put it in a layout like that, but I like the way that's presented. But then that allows us for upsells, right? Or it allows us to prioritize whenever we know that every now and then we'll come up with a client who wants everything, but doesn't want to pay for everything. And that's a great way for us to just say, hey, these things we're tabling. If not, let us know. We'll add them in and you can decide, with the other key decision makers if needed. So
absolutely. So just one, a big golden nugget, something that if you get one thing from today's meeting, get this one. If you're dealing with B2B businesses, they're trying to make their boss happy. So somebody else is in charge of their feelings, right? They're trying to make the company or somebody above them happy. If you're dealing with B2C markets, they're trying to make themselves happy. They're doing business with customers. They're probably smaller businesses, mom pop shops, stuff like that. It's a really critical definition there, because in B2B, there probably are other decision makers. There probably is somebody else behind the scenes that they're trying to make happy. So it's very important to, find out what those reasons are and what are the hot buttons and how do we get there. Does that kind of make sense? B2B, B2C, very, very different. You don't have to have a different sales process. You just have to know who you're talking to. Tracy said B2B, they don't want to get fired by hiring you. Yeah, they're scared. They're very fearful of this. And so I think taking that on with caring and being like, how do we help you? How do we help you sell this? How do we turn them into an advocate? That's really the goal. Make sense? Okay. Cliff, I stole your line here. Just take this as an example. Take what you like, season it to taste. Don't get bogged down with the details. So you guys can call things whatever you want. You can do it. But let me show you how this works out. Tracy, idea for your whiteboard right here. This is how this shakes out on what I'd call a lead board. You have these columns, right? Your leads, your contacted, qualified, analyzed needs. My goal is not to go from lead to closed won. My goal is to go from lead to contacted. Keep it simple. I want to move them forward in the process. So I might have tons of leads, right? I might have 150 leads. I don't spend my time in the lead area. I make a few calls, I get them moved. I want to get them into the contacted opportunity stage. Once they're contacted, I want to get them over to qualified. Once they're qualified, then we analyze their needs. I have a whiteboard with Post-it notes when I did this, and I would get the Post-it notes, write the company name, and then by the time I got to the proposal or the solution presentation, I would write the dollar amount that they were worth, and then my goal was just take that little sticky note and move it on down from lead to contacted, contacted, qualified. And I could see if I had nobody in my qualified row, I got to focus on lead to contacted. Like there's my gap. There's my hole. Right here, I've got nobody in solution presentation. So what am I doing wrong with analyzed lead needs, right? Why is that stopping? So it's important to find your gaps. Where are your trouble spots? Many people do great with proposals. Many people do great with the first contacts. The holes are usually, how do I get them from analyze needs over to solution? Or how do I get them from solution to proposal? Does that kind of make sense? So this is a great idea. I used to do a whiteboard just like this, moving from the left to the right. You don't have to do that. I just wanted to show you an example of what this looks like in the real world, like working it through. So you've got a plan.
Yeah, Gretchen and I have something similar. I mean, like our sections are maybe worded differently, but we have that all set up in Active Campaign. So I can just go and follow it all the way through, see what step I need to take next. And it does make life a lot easier to be able to see it all in one place.
Yeah, it's like an agile board, really. It's like an agile board. You move them from the left to the right. All right. Are you guys ready for the real deal? The accelerator template. Let me give you guys a link so you can download this guy. So there we go. Sales accelerator template. This thing is pretty cool. And I need to do a new share. There we go. Can you guys see my screen okay? All right. Anybody having trouble downloading the template? The link works. It's all good. Cool, cool. All right. This is the good stuff. Okay. You can put your logo on here and all this. You can do this in a variety of ways. It depends on how many people you talk to in a time period. So you might talk to 4 or 5 people a week. So these would be weeks instead of months. You might do huge jobs and you talk to 4 or 5 people a quarter. So this could be Q1 instead of month 1. But I'll leave it. I've got mine set for month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4. So it's a quarterly total, right? I'm doing it by the quarter. So very simple. What's the deal title? Who's the contact person? And what's my deal stage? Now you guys can edit these stages, but they're just kind of taken from the process I just showed you. Where are they at? And there's a nice little thing back here, deal stages and probability. So if you choose a lead, that's a 0. There is no win probability. They're just a lead. Contacted, maybe 10%. Qualified, okay, maybe 25%. And then like Cliff said, once we present the proposal, once we get there, we're probably 90% sure we're going to get the deal. So you guys can change these numbers. You can also change them per deal. They're not connected, right? These win probabilities, they're not connected to that tab. Those are just an idea. Devin might be talking to Amazon LLC or let's say Tesla Motors, and he's got a friend on the inside. He's only contacted him, but they've said they're going to use him. So he can be like, yeah, I'm pretty confident in that. I'm 80% sure I'm going to get that deal. So you use these win probability to give you a forecast. This is where this gets a little tricky because everybody does these forecasts, and forecasting is not necessarily linear, right? Forecasting can go on a long period of time. So once you put in your deal stage, the deal amount, the probability of winning it, it'll do a weighted forecast, right? So 80% of $130,000 is $104,000. You guys follow the math? You guys get that? Okay. So what it's doing is it's saying, okay, here's your weighted forecast. That way you're not putting all these numbers into deals and looking at a forecast of $100,000 because not all of it's going to close at the same time. That's calculator math. It'll throw you off. It'll bring your hopes up and it'll crash them down. That's a big mistake in the creative world. So we want to put these weighted forecasts in so we have realistic expectations, right? So then sales rep, if you got a different sales rep, and then next activity, if you want to use something like that, what are you doing next with them? So you've got month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, and then you have some totals, the total deal amount and your weighted forecast. So yeah, I've got $1,956,000 out in proposals, but that's probably a real world number of about 776,000 because not everything is going to close perfectly. Does that make sense? So then we have another tab, Deal Insights. And all this does is kind of track your forecasted versus your actual. So it's, here's your actual, you hit 289, your forecast was 92, so you're doing good. this one actually, I didn't do the numbers, for real. If I did the numbers for real, these should kind of be in line, like they should kind of be even. But if you start seeing that your forecast is really, really high and your actual is really, really, really low, something's wrong. You have a problem with pricing or forecast, something's not right. Does that kind of make sense? Has anybody used a tool like this before and tried forecasting? Do you guys see how this could be valuable to you?
This is awesome. This has been a big missing piece for Gretchen and I, for sure. Because we follow profit first, and so forecasting is a big part of that. And to have these percentages is awesome. So thank you so much for that.
And if you guys really want to get crazy, this is 10% of the template. Like I have a business forecasting template that goes over 12 months and ROIs and profit and loss, but it's daunting. And I didn't create it. It was created by an old business partner of mine. So I like to keep things simple. This to me is very simple. I like this. And if you got your sales hat on, you don't need profit and loss tabs and taxes tabs and all that. You just need the deals. Where's the deals? Who am I calling? What are they worth? I also would use this as kind of a war board, because here's $300,000. Well, I want to be talking to Amazon a lot. They are worth a lot of money to me. And maybe this 54, maybe Microsoft's, maybe, I got a chance at 300. I'm going to really spend time on that. These little ones, maybe I don't try so hard, or maybe I don't, screw up my whole day trying to chase them. Does that make sense? So you got kind of a war board, who to focus on, what to focus on, and now you're forecasting. You're getting things figured out. Does that make sense? Awesome. Let me start a new screen share. Let's go back to this guy. Cool. We're just plugging away. I like getting right into it, the nitty gritty. So really quick, let me talk to you guys a little bit about week 2, what's coming up, because we're going to look at some of your playbooks. I know Duke, you and Tempe were working on it, so we'll take a look at that. But next week, we're going to work on your sales process. If you guys have CRMs, we're going to set those up or look at them or see if you've got holes in them. How many people don't have a CRM? I know Cliff doesn't use one. Nate doesn't have one.
I'm in the process of building mine at Active Campaign. It's not done yet.
Okay. Active Campaign.
We're moving to Active Campaign as well, like Trina and Tracy.
We use Active Campaign.
Cool. Duke, Tempe. You guys use?
We got Active Campaign as well. I don't have it quite set up yet, but
easy. Everybody's using the same tool. That's easy. All right. So we'll look at how to set that up. Look at gaps that you have. What I'd love for you guys to do, even go back to January and fill this thing out. Fill this forecasting tool out, or look at the last quarter of last year. Fill it out, give it a shot, and see what happens. Right now we're in February, so we'd be starting month 2 of the quarter. So if you want to zero out month 1, you can do that, but fill it out and let's take a look at it and make sure that it's working good for you guys. And then we're going to go after existing clients. So we're going to have all our tools in place. We've got our playbook, we've got our CRM, we've got our process. We're going to look at existing clients. I just can't spell, so it doesn't matter. There we go. Existing. We're going to look at existing clients, or maybe you guys have opportunities that you want to run through. But the big thing is getting on the phone and getting people in, getting discovery sold or projects sold or whatever you've got. And so we're going to have a little bit of a course on selling to existing clients. And I'll probably share with you guys some recording tools if you want to record some calls and send them to me and review them. And kind of see how that works. And I will help you create a sales script during that week. So we're going to have a sales script and you'll have a sales quoting tool. I gave a really cool one out last week, a project quoting tool. So let's see, let me just find that really quick. Bonus downloads, get shareable link. Just a reminder, here is the quoting tool. it's really just to figure out what your actual cost should be and what your actual pricing should be. And so we did a video on that. We kind of all looked at that. And Tracy Devon, it's a big Excel sheet where you list out your services and what your low, medium, and high rates are for those services. And it weights them out, right? To say, okay, here's your average that you make on that. And then you put in what your costs are, you put in what your retail is, and it tells you what you should charge. It tells you, okay, based on everything you said, this is your range that you should be in. And it's based on your assumptions, right? So some of mine were, we charge $150 an hour, but our cost is $30 an hour, And so this is going to take 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever. And you just go down the list. You just plug in time, plug in guesses, and then it automatically gives you some numbers. It's a pretty cool tool. Should be self-explanatory. Reach out to me if you want some one-on-one on that, and we can figure it out. So that should be helpful. But that should give us everything we need to get in front of the customer, to get the jobs quoted, and to actually start making some progress, right? And so we'll actually really dig in on what is happening. Does that kind of make sense so far? Cool. Which time? Oh, good. We're doing good on time. Cool. While I got you guys here, let's just give you this link too. So now, because we're giving you all kinds of cool stuff, and there's probably going to be questions, I'll send this out in an email too, but here's the strategy call link. So you guys can use that to schedule a one-on-one strategy call. If you're looking at it and you're like, man, I don't see anything that works for me, just hit me up on Slack or email me. Let me know. Because as you guys know, I usually block out Fridays or most of them. So I do have time. Sometimes I block out Monday mornings till noon, but I do have time. It's just hidden. So if you really need something, let me know and we'll figure out a time and what works best. All right. Questions, problems, confusion. How's everybody feeling? Was that too fast? Was it okay?
No, it was good. I'm really excited that everybody's using Active Campaign, because this week we've been going back and forth. Should we use HubSpot? Should we use Active Campaign? Should we do this? Should we do that? So, yay. I have a bunch of people I can ask about this stuff, because it's a little daunting at first, but it's exciting. Good. Yeah.
You just plug away at it. You just push buttons.
Yeah, that's what I've decided I'm going to do. Especially now that I know everybody else is using it, it's like the tool. I can just run with it and not doubt whether or not I'm using the right thing. You know what I mean? Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, John, I like that your calls are topical. You give 1 or 2 resources, and ultimately, if it works in our business, we can cover it, ask the questions, and then move forward, versus 20 things and covering a ton of topics, and then we leave and we're like, oh crap, we can't do any of this. You know what I mean? Or we want to do all of it and we really don't do anything. We get on to the next call and we have a new pile of things to do. So yeah, I like the format so far. I think just allocating time for Q&A on the specific things you've covered it works well for me personally.
Yeah,
outstanding. How many of you guys ever run into the deferral objection, where you get them on the phone, but they have to talk to somebody else? There's somebody else they got to talk, and you can't talk to them. You guys run into that?
Yes.
Occasionally.
So this was this was a big one that came up, that a lot of people were saying, I get the price thing, I get the will it work for me and the guarantee. Those are a little easier. The deferral one is hard, and this one came up a few times last week, where it was, I cannot get to the decision maker at all, or it's a board of people and I can't get in front of them. And so just a little bonus today, the way I handle the deferral objection is I turn them into my salesperson, right? Mm-hmm. So if that's all I got, then I'll say, cool, let's make a PowerPoint. Let me make a video of me going over the proposal. First I ask them, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are we at? Right. So if Tracy's my contact, I'd be like, so scale 1 to 10, 10 being you're ready to go, 1 being kick rocks, where are we at? And if she says 8, 9, 7 or above, I treat it like the Olympics. Let's go forward. Right. Cool. Tracy and I are aligned. Let's get her what she needs to take to the decision makers. Let's turn her into my salesperson. And I would usually make a video of me going over the proposal and a little bit, maybe a slide deck of some important things. It takes more effort, but I found usually the deferral objection, there's more money involved too. Like there's a board or there's, people making decisions. So these aren't your $3,000 websites. These are your bigger projects, and you're probably going to have to turn them into a salesperson. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, in the last 8 months, I've always stuck to the rule that you always present the proposal. Like, you never just email it over, because that's just waiting to be waiting.
Hell.
Yeah. And so I've always done that, but in the last 8 months, I've been recording like Loom screencasts of the proposal presentation. And then if there's if I'm working with the stakeholder, but I can't get to the decision makers, which has happened quite a bit recently, then I know that I've basically equipped, I know that my message isn't going to get lost. The things that are really important aren't going to get lost. And that they're gonna come through my voice to whoever it is. I'm trying to keep it concise. So that's worked really well for closing and getting buy-in, because the person who's my advocate within the organization feels like they're equipped, like they're ready. They may not even get their executive director to sit down and watch a 3-minute video, but they might. And the board member who actually pulls the strings and has the ED's ear, that person will watch a 3-minute video. Mm-hmm. So we started doing that with sales proposals. We've also started doing that with deliverables. So if we're presenting, we've been doing a lot of brand refresh packages for people. It's like a productized service that we're experimenting with and has gone really well. And instead of just here's your brand refresh, awesome, go show it to your ED, they get a 3-minute video which walks them through our entire process. Okay, so we started here, and then we did this, and we made this decision, and then that got us to here, and then basically by the end they see the final product and they're like, oh, light bulb moment. And so you can extend that principle to every stage of your project too, and it works. It's gotten buy-in in every case. It's been huge. Don't count on the advocate to get it right, because they got a million things going on, and they just
count on them to maybe get 40% of what you tell them.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Maybe 40. So keep it short and sweet. I usually go over the big stuff. Hey, the hot buttons were ABC. Our solution for those are 1, 2, 3. Those are the big things that you need to know. Other than that, it's all some boilerplate information and how amazing we are and how happy we are to work with you. But these were the hot buttons that you said you needed. Here's where our solutions for those things. You get that right, and we're good to go, right?
If you want, I could share one of those videos. It's a proposal presentation too, so I think
Please.
If that's useful, I can put that in the chat real quick.
Yeah, throw that in the chat. It would be great, and then I'll load it to Slack. And everybody knows Loom, but if you don't know Loom, I'll get a link for it. Loom's great. I know Cliff uses Loom in his project management process a lot.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I use it.
So beautiful.
I use it for a lot of sales stuff.
Yeah, I use it for clients as well as vendors, not vendors, but people I'm hiring to do things. When I run into something, instead of putting it in paragraph form, I just jump on Loom.
Do this.
So great.
Yeah, you can just point. Do this. Put this here. Make that red. Do this. Boom, boom, boom. Wait.
And then with clients too, who I have a couple clients who email, they don't read. I swear to God, they don't read. And they'll ask me the same question. I'm like, I just answered that. So now I answer them with Loom videos.
Yeah, and I know Cliff will make you do a Loom video on what you want done and send it to his team. So he won't even accept a client's email. He'll be, oh, use Loom. I've been in that process, so I know.
It's a word problem. You've got to read it 5 times to see where all the tasks are hidden it's just like a word problem in math.
Yeah, well, and they're not going to tell you which page URL it is. They're usually going to say something like, we need to add our social links to our solutions page. They don't have a page called solutions. I don't know what they're talking about,
Or the forms broke.
You have 17 of them. Which one?
Yeah. What does broke mean?
Right.
Well, another tip that we use Loom for is, and I think y'all alluded to this, is just for your processes and systemizing. You know, I know Trina, I work with Gretchen, so both of us have like crazy process lists. Well, and that helps. That's a great start. But one of the things that we started doing is I like things done a specific way in certain cases, or so does our CTO. So what we said is anytime there's something like that, just add a use Loom video to the process list. That way, when someone checks out that process and that specific section, they can just watch the video and it's done once versus writing up a scope of work or some sort of process statement that's 1 or 2 paragraphs when you can take 30 seconds to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So leverage that in your processes as well.
I'll just say one more thing I just put it into Slack so you guys can see in the resources channel. So in that case, it was kind of a meaty proposal. So I did an overview video that was only like 5 minutes, and that was what John was just saying, like hit the key points. So if they watch just that, like the ED will at least know what we're talking about. And then I did like a phase 1 details, phase 2 details, phase 3 details for the people that actually want to get into the weeds, instead of giving them like a 20-minute video and being like, just watch the first 5 minutes. You know, it broke it up better.
Yeah, if you give them too much, you'll lose them. You'll lose them real quick. A confused buyer doesn't make a decision. It's got to be clear. Clear is the new clever. You can write down your whiteboard, Tracy. Clear is the new clever.
I tell clients that all the time.
Be clear. Don't tell me make it pretty. Be clear.
Yeah, I have a proposal presentation I got to jump to. So I love seeing you guys. I will see you next week. Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
Thanks, John.
Bye, Dylan.
Thank you.
Bye.
I wasn't going to cram too much into today, but we're making such a good time. How many of you guys need to report on ROI or would like to report on ROI or would like to use ROI to sell stuff to people?
ROI, because I get people trying to sell me things on ROI, and a lot of times it looks like made up bullshit. So I would like to see how you do it.
It's usually
it's like SEO. It's like, oh, you owe $1 million. Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah. No, the links that you got me from China aren't helping. Yeah, exactly. I'll give you guys this template. This one always worked really, really well for us. And it is pretty spot on if you get the numbers right. And I use it in my sales stuff too. When I would sit in front of a client, I'd say, you know what, let me show you what we did for Mike Wittenstein. Or let me show you what we did for magnets. So it's like case study stuff. And here's the key. I never report ROI on the transaction. I report it on the lifetime value of the customer because I want credit. I brought you that client, and if they spend $2,000 a year for 10 years, I want credit for the 20,000, not the $2,000 that I made you this year. Does that make sense? And I explain that to the customer. These numbers are based on lifetime value. So no, you're not making $150,000 this month, but over the next 2 years, you probably are, right? So very, very simple. These are numbers that the client needs to give me. I need these from them. I need to know what's their average conversion rate from lead from the website. Like how many leads from their website actually convert and become possible sales opportunities. And so usually the number's pretty small. You know, there's not a lot of, it's not like 50%. It's just like 4 or 5%. And then the average conversion rate when there's a sale, it really depends, you know, what their, I think MMR is one of the words used in the corporate world. But you've got lead or you've got sale. So 4% of the people that come to my website become a lead. 2% of that 4% actually become a sale. Right? It's about half. Then what's the average cost per lead? Maybe they know, maybe they don't, but this is where we got to come up with the math. So this person knew that, okay, it cost me about $120 per lead. It actually cost me $400 per sale because maybe I have to pay somebody a commission or whatever, or there's a cost. There's a cost involved with everything I do. And then there's what's the average sale price? What's the lifetime value of the customer, right?
I got a question here.
Yes.
It seems like a lot of my clients, my ideal client, I don't usually build brand new websites that they've never had a website before because I've learned that sucks. because then they start with oh, we don't know what we want, and then as I open up the floodgates, they want everything for like cheap. So most of my clients have had a website, but they haven't been getting much traction. It's like an expensive business card for them. So I don't know if I ask some of these questions, they would even know. What do you do with those kind of clients? Because to me, then every client that they get from the website is an ROI.
We start at the beginning and say, let's start tracking it. Let's actually get into your Google Analytics. Let's set up some dashboards so that in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, you know these numbers, because these are important numbers. If you're in business, you got to know your numbers. You got to know what's it cost to bring somebody in, what's it cost to sell somebody. What are these things costing you, right? So that kind of makes sense, Nate?
Yeah.
So then over here, the inputs from website analytics, I can get these on my own. I don't need their help. So if they got analytics, I'll check out this, usually monthly, right? This should all be monthly. How many visits do they get? How many unique visits, page views, time on the site? What's the bounce rate, percentage of new visits? How many leads do they get? And the number of sales that they actually got over the last month or quarter, or however you're doing the math. And keep in mind, there's these percentages that are coming into play with all of these numbers. And then I actually show them what they're paying. I know some people like to hide that and not talk about the fact that we're charging them $5,000 a month or whatever. I bring it up all the time. Look, here's your hosting. You spent this on hosting. You spent this on dev, and you're spending this a month on maintenance or whatever. I'm showing this is what you're paying. So then down here, you've got all of your numbers, right? The average page views, conversion, the visit to lead. These, you don't fill these in. These are automatically filled in by the math we did up here. How much revenue, cost per impression, cost per lead, cost per sale, conversion rate to site. So if I look at this right now, and these were real numbers from a site called Mike Wittenstein. When I look at this, I go, wow, right now you're already at a 1,200% ROI. Like the money you're investing is making you money. We know that from the math. But here's our opportunity is your conversion rate. It's not more visits. You know, Mike Wittenstein called us and said, I need to get 30,000 visitors to my site a month so I can hit my goals. No, you're getting plenty of traffic. You don't even have a 1% conversion rate. So imagine what would happen if we raised your conversion rate with some design, some branding, some UX, some whatever, right? So you're not bringing in the right traffic, or you're just not closing the right traffic. So it's not a question of more traffic or any of that. It's a question of conversion rate, which is what I saw when I did the math. Does that kind of make sense? So there's a little bit of, because it's lifetime value, there's a little bit of hoity-toityness in here, Tracy, but I tell the clients, take it with a grain of salt. You know, take it with a grain of salt. What we're really looking for is where's the holes? You know, what can we work on? Where's
what
the
levers can you tweak?
Yeah. Where's our problem? Because you can look at it and go, my website's not making me money. I need more leads. I need SEO.
Right.
Horrible. What's the strategy here? And if we look at this one, we can go, you know, we should probably work on that conversion rate. That will make all these numbers look better, right?
So this would be for e-commerce, or like, how are you getting the sales? Because I've got a couple of HVAC clients where all of that is offline and I don't have access to that.
I would just ask them. So I've got some HVAC clients where I say, so what's your average lifetime value of a customer? You know, what's your average sale? And I only need that number. And then how many of them did they make? You know, what's the average sale you make and how many did you make from the website, right?
See, that's the hard part, is like, they're like, they can't track exactly. They know which calls came from the website, which form fills came from the website. And then we lose that connectivity of where it came from because they've got a sucky internal system. So it's all kind of
that's usually the problem. Yeah.
I have a big client that's exactly like that. I mean, they sell industrial like pumps for oil and petroleum industry.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of their sales can range from $5,000 to $100,000, and I've increased their leads. They had 3 leads a week, and now they're getting about 2 a day. But the problem is exactly what you're saying. They do not track any of like.
They don't tag them.
Yeah, so I'm just sitting, and I'm like, hey, have you guys figured this out yet? Have you got this? Because I'd really like to see what we're doing here. But there's such a big recurring revenue client for me that I don't want to rock the boat too much. I'm like, they're still paying me. I mean, I'd like to give them more value, but what are you
But you want to
do,
take
right?
credit for those dollars.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But,
and I also want to be able, but part of it is I would also like to be able to adjust the ongoing situation. If I'm making them like $2 million a year extra, I don't want to charge them $3,500 a month. I want to be able to renegotiate that, because I've been in a contract with them for like a year and a half now. So I know I've gotten more leads. I just don't know how many leads they're closing off of that. You know what I mean?
Hey, one thing I do, because I have a couple HVAC clients and I have a carpet cleaning client. All of their orders are processed off the website, but they get leads, and I'll export monthly. I mean, I have a weekly or a bi-weekly or maybe a monthly check-in call with them. They're recurring revenue clients, and I'll create a spreadsheet with all the leads we got from the site and just put a status and say, hey, go through these and tell me what's happened with these leads. And did it close? If it closed, how much? And what's been helpful, like I just upsold a carpet cleaning company where we were just doing consulting for them initially, tweaked their website a bit and started getting them leads. And we just upsold them on a new design, because I could show their owner, who's an old guy, very old school, his secretary, and I could show the owner with this spreadsheet, hey, we've helped your company make this much money in the last 3 months just tweaking a crappy site. So that's been helpful, especially with those that they don't track their sales very effectively on their site. But I can track their leads, and then I can hold them accountable and say, look, we want to see if we're getting return. Tell me what these leads are doing. And it's also helped me to better understand how we can tweak the lead process to maybe ask better questions and not get a bunch of spam leads or not the ideal client. So that's been helpful, and it helps them feel like I really want them to succeed, which I do, because I like taking their money too, So. Yeah.
Well, and I think, like Tracy said, there'll be some runoff. There'll be some. We don't know that came from the website or not. We can't prove it. But what I used to do with the HVAC guys is set up a call tracking number that was on their site.
Mm-hmm. We've got that too.
If they didn't want to pay for a good one, I would just set up like a Google Voice number, right, and forward it to their phone. And then I would just count how many times did the Google Voice number ring. So there you go. Brought you 30 leads.
Right. So we've got that. I've got call rails, but we don't have that tied to money on the inside. Like they
probably don't log in and fill it out and say sold. And
no, they don't. And they don't listen to the calls. There's some stupidity there, but I did get them to upgrade their internal system. So now they're tracking a lot more than they used to be tracking, but there's still a disconnect.
Yeah.
I know it's valuable. He knows he's spending the money in the right places, but we don't know how much return he's getting.
Some of them, there's clients that I just don't even get into the ROI topic, because I know they won't be okay with it. Like they just won't get it. It's too hard to track. And so I'll skip it. I have others that are very detailed, that want to know everything, right? And it's really cool to be like, here's your ROI. Like, this is what we're doing. The other thing you can do, I only with a few clients would I report ROI on a monthly basis. That's high volume, highly active clients. A lot of them, it's better to just do that quarterly,
Okay.
Because it might look better. And it's also not a monthly reminder of, hey, you didn't make any money this month. Hey, you didn't make any money. And then the third month, hey, you made money, So it's usually, if you can get 4 months of data, it looks really good. Sometimes in a 30-day period, it doesn't look very good. So I would use that too, maybe your ROI is quarterly, maybe it's every half a year, maybe it's whatever time span you think. Because I'm always, even if I want to be 100% candid, human nature is going to always make me skew it to my favor. Like, I'm just going to want to do that. And it's really hard to avoid that. So that's one of the things you can do to be like, well, gosh, they don't do really good every 30 days. Their sales cycles are really long, right? It usually takes them 2 to 3 months to get a deal. Let's do ROI reporting at a basic level every quarter, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we used to charge for the ROI reporting. So we had an add-on to our monthly recurring revenue service that we called the outsourced CMO. The outsourced CMO was an extra $500 a month, and it included us making custom dashboards in analytics, or making a custom dashboard in like SAPV or a dashboard program and bringing in reports. I don't know if you guys have done stuff like that, but SAPV is a really cool. I'll put the link in. SAPV, I think .com is what it is. Wait, SAPV, CYFE. That's what it is.
I was going to say that's cafe.
SAPV is just a really cool dashboard template. Let me just make sure that was the right link. Yeah, all-in-one business dashboards. Just to wow them, I would create a SAPV dashboard, and I would throw in some project management stuff, maybe link it to Basecamp or Teamwork, link it into Google Analytics, link it into Google Webmaster Tools at the time, and just have this big dashboard of here, this is everything going on, here's what's happening. And then we'll meet with you every month. We'll go over your numbers. We'll figure out your strategy. And that was a nice little add-on. And every quarter we'll do ROI reporting, et cetera. So
cool.
Little idea for you guys there.
Cool.
All right. Got that. Man, time flies when you're having fun. Time really does fly. Let me get this back up. Okay. So we've gone over quite a few things. We've got our estimating stuff. Tracy, I can go over that with you one-on-one. We looked at it with the group last week, but
I watched the video.
The estimator is super cool. I love that tool. And we've gone over your sales acceleration template today. So I hope you guys find some use with that and use it. And actually, if you got to make a Google Doc, great, make a Google Doc. If you don't like Excel, do something else. Put it on a whiteboard. Like, I don't care how it gets done, but you have to do it, right? The unnamed arrow never misses. So you have to do this stuff. I love it when Brent puts a question out there like, what's your sales goals for this month? It doesn't matter if you don't have a plan to get there. I can say I want to make 20 grand. Yeah, I want to make 20 grand this month. Great. So I think you got to have a plan. You got to know what you're doing. You got to have a plan and be like, okay, if I talk to 10 people, I'll probably sell 3 deals. Where's my 10? I got to get my 10, and break your goals down in these little bite-sized chunk things that you can do every day. Okay. So hero huddle time. So we've got 20.